What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Crypto Crossroads. Do you guys remember Swift Blockchain when it was sitting under a penny and then it hit almost 5 cents, giving early investors a 16 to 17x returns? Well, if you do, there is another project that has similar ties to Swift blockchain and is called Teva Era, right? The ticker is Teva, Teva. And I think this project can actually bring multiple returns as well. But of course, that is never promised, and this is not financial advice. So if you're interested in this video, then stick around and do me a quick favor and hit the like and subscribe button so that we could get the show started. All right, so I mentioned that this project has similar ties to Swift blockchain, and as you guys can see on the screen, it is connected to Draper Dragon, right? Because it invested into Teva, just like it did invest in Swift blockchain and also Coinbase. And this Teva token is actually running on the base network, right? So let's break down these connections, and we'll start by looking at the Teva Era Twitter account. As you guys can see, Teva Era posted on August 8th. We're built on base. Teva Era is bringing games and guilds on chain, open, composable, player owned. Today, real scale on chain distribution begins with DEX trading live on the Coinbase app. You don't need any wallets, you don't need any extensions, or no extra steps, right? And when I say you don't need no wallets, I meant you don't need new wallets because the Coinbase app did an update, right? And is now the everything app that is trying to build. Now, we just went over that quickly to let you know that Teva Era is built on the base network. So now let's do this. Let's go over to the Teva Era website and check out who is backing this project. As you guys can see, there's a few companies that I highlighted because I'm familiar with them, and I'm sure that you guys are as well. And you guys can see crypto.com capital invested into Teva Era, and the exchange actually listed Teva Era. So you guys could possibly get some depending on where you're at in crypto.com. Then we have Hashkey Capital, which also invested in Velo, right? And then, of course, you see Draper Dragon at the bottom left that invested in so many companies. But for this particular video, I'll mention that Draper Dragon invested into Swift blockchain and also Coinbase, right? So, given that Draper Dragon invested early into Coinbase, I'm just wondering if Draper Dragon will leverage his connections to Coinbase and ask them to list Teva Era since it's one of the investment companies of Draper Dragon. Now, if you look to the upper left corner, you'll see a company that goes by the name of Laser Digital, which is actually a subsidiary of Nomura Group, which is this 100-year-old bank that started in 1925, but it's allegedly it actually started somewhere in the 1800s, right? Unofficially. So this brings me to this article where you guys can see how much money was invested into Teva Era by these companies. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Now, according to the block, this article was published on April 24, 2024, and it's titled Laser Digital Nomura Group led $5 million funding round for gaming firm Teva Era, right? So some of the companies involved in this investment was, of course, Laser Digital from and Nomura Group, which are two co-companies, and they led the funding with the help of Hashkey Capital, Fenbushi Capital, which I haven't researched, but to me that sounds like it might be Japanese. Then we have Matter Labs, Draper Dragon, Crypto.com Capital, DFW Labs, and so many other projects, right? So right off the bat, I told you guys that Draper Dragon invested in Swift blockchain, right? But if you guys recall, Swift blockchain was actually connected to this Japanese bank called the Mizuho Bank, which, if I recall correctly, they are one of the biggest in Japan, right? So I know that the Japanese country is one of the leaders in this industrial fourth revolution that's coming up, or that we're in the middle of. Um, and I'm noticing, you know, peculiar connections within Teva Era and the Japanese bank Nomura Group, right? So now I'm thinking there's a lot of similarities now between Swift Blockchain and Teva Era, even though they're in different sectors. Remember, Swift Blockchain is focused on cross-border payments, and Teva Era is actually focused on games, right? The gaming ecosystem. So but I'm seeing the connections. Teva Era is connected to a Japanese bank that's been around for at least 100 years and is entering the blockchain ecosystem through its subsidiary known as Laser Digital, right? So these two companies, Laser Digital and its parent company, Nomura Group, invested into Teva Era, and it even recruited other investors such as Draper Dragon, Hashkey Capital, and the list goes on, right? So that's just something that I wanted to bring up. This is a future video that I will make, deep diving into this Japanese bank that invested into Teva Era. But that's what I'm trying to get at, guys. There are at least three similarities between Swift Blockchain and Teva Era: the investment of Draper Dragon, the connection to Coinbase, and also connections to Japanese institutions, right? So going back to the article, it reads, it's been a wild ride bootstrapping the project initially and then being cash flow positive through the bear market. Neji added, this funding is a major milestone for us to accelerate a roadmap to build a CK stack power one-stop gaming ecosystem on CK Zinc, right? And that, remember, this was in 2024. So initially, Teva Era was building on CK Zinc, and then I'll show you guys in just a moment that Teva Era decided to migrate to the base network, right? And that was strategic. And I'll tell you guys why I think that was. But let's continue on reading the article. And it reads, Teva Era offers Web3 games such as fantasy strategy game Guardian Islands and a multiplayer racing game Teva Run, as well as an NFT marketplace and decentralized exchange. Teva Era has over 850,000 gamers. Wow, so that's quite a handful of gamers. That's about a million gamers, right? And it continues. And nearly 2.5 million utility NFTs, according to the firm's website, right? So that's pretty interesting. This project was built in the bear market. It got fundings from the Japanese bank, Nomura Group, and Laser Digital, Draper Dragon, Crypto.com. So it had the financial means to continue to build its ecosystem. And as you guys can see, they racked up over almost a million gamers, and they facilitated the trading of 2.5 million utility NFTs. So those are pretty impressive numbers, right? Now, I did tell you guys that this project initially began building on CK Sync, but it migrated to the base network. And that was planned or publicly announced on February 6, 2025, right? Then fast forward to February 11th, not so long after that post, Teva Era posted, Teva Era is now based. The migration was successful, and the Teva Era protocol and games are launching in Q1 2025. And as of today, they actually have two games that are live on their website. Right now, if you ask me why I think this migration was done, I would simply say that the base network is a growing ecosystem, and I'm not sure if this is still current, but at one point, the base network and his developers, and his team were encouraging projects to build on top of the base network because they will give them help, right? So if Teva Era uh, caught a grasp of this opportunity by migrating to base, they in return receive a grant that will allow them to continue building on the base network. So I think that's one incentive, right? The second incentive is that the base network is growing, and they actually just came out with the Everything app that allows pretty much allows anybody to access the base network ecosystem through one app, and other networks as well, right? So Teva Era now is on that Coinbase app, right? And now the third reason why I think Teva Era migrated in to the base network is because Draper Dragon might have influenced that decision. Now remember, these three reasons are just speculation, but it's just, you got to start questioning the motives behind these decisions, right? But that's just my opinion. So Draper Dragon invested in Coinbase, and it has connections to it. And as I mentioned earlier, uh, the Black Rule community, Shook Focus, and I believe Underdog as well believes that Draper Dragon is probably the reason that Swift Blockchain got listed on Coinbase, and I believe that Draper Dragon will probably be one reason that Teva Era could get listed on Coinbase as well, right? So now let's show you guys some proof outside of the article and outside of Teva Era claiming the Draper Dragon connection by simply going to the Draper Dragon website. And there you have it. We're on the website, and you can see the portfolio companies that Draper Dragon has invested in. Is one of them is Coinbase, right? And we've been on that. You've been following the community that we're in, the Black Root community, Shook Focus, and the Underdog community. Now let's try to see if we can find Teva Era under the Draper Dragon portfolio. So we're gonna scroll down, and boom, there it is. We see Teva Era under the Draper Dragon portfolio, right? So now let's do this. Let's go over to the Swift blockchain tokenomics and take a look at its current price as of August 17, 2025. As you guys can see, the current market cap is $106 million, about there, approximately. The max supply is 10 billion, and all coins are in circulation, right? Now, if we look at the price history within the last year, you'll notice that around September 2nd, 2024, the price token was only about 30% of a penny, so the price was worth peanuts, right? And then the recent all-time high, or the most recent high price, was about 5 cents on February 1st, 2025. So if you were listening to the homies Black Rouge, Shook Focus, and Underdog, then you would, and you got in around 30% of a penny, then you pulled easily a 16 to 17x just by getting in early, ignoring the FUD, doing the research, and following researchers that are providing the research, on YouTube for free, right? Free 99. And that would have gotten you, like, if you verified that research and decided to invest, not considering anything financial advice, then you will have pulled a 16 to 17x if you held from 30% of a penny all the way up to near 5 cents, right? So those were pretty bullish returns, and and Swift blockchain is still at a very low market cap. If it pulls a billion market cap, that's a 10x, right? But it's not financial advice. You guys do what you will, but let's go ahead and compare the Teva Era price and its market cap to Swift blockchains. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Teva Era first, and you guys can see that it's sitting under a $3 million market cap as of August 17, 2025. The max supply is 4 billion, and the circulating supply is a little over 500 million coins. So that circulating supply may be concerning to some. Um, it's not my favorite, to say the least. But given that we're near a bull run, I don't think this circulating supply will go to 100% of the max supply, right? So I'm not too scared about this. But let's go ahead and look at potential price scenarios, right? So let's say Teva Era goes back to its all-time high, which was around 5 cents, and it's also the most recent high for Swift blockchain, right? So let's say Teva Era goes to 5 cents. That would mean that the market cap for Teva Era at this current circulating supply would equal to about $28 million market cap, which is approximately a 9.55x return. So we take 9.55 and we multiply it by the current price of Teva Era, which is about 52% of a penny, then at $28 million market cap, we will have about a 5 cent um, Teva Era, right? And that's about a 10x return from August 17, 2025. But let's say for some reason Teva Era, with all its connections, its fundamentals, and the momentum of the bull run, manages to achieve Swift Blockchain's current market cap of $106 million. That will be a whooping 36.6 returns for Teva Era. So if it manages to pull this market cap of $106 million, then Teva Era will be sitting around approximately 19-20 cents, right? And that again, that's a 36.6 return. So I say this to tell you that, first of all, this is not financial advice, but there are plenty of opportunities in the market. And the way I look at things is I look for um, I look for fundamentals. I look for connections such as investors or partners, and I also look at tokenomics, right? And the type of market that we're currently sitting at. And I think that both Swift blockchain and Teva Era could still give us great returns, but this is not financial advice. These are just potential price scenarios that may or may not happen. So if you guys like this type of information, then please do me a quick favor, hit the like and subscribe button. Remember that I have a video coming up on Teva Era and its connection to this Japanese bank. And that's going to be a deep dive because, I mean, if you have, this is an institution that is based out of Japan. It's been in existence for almost 100 years. No, actually, exactly 100 years. So there's a lot of history to go over. And this a Japanese bank called Nomura Group launched it's a branch that's focusing exactly on cryptocurrencies called Laser Digital. And it just so happens to be that these two companies invested into Teva Era along with Draper Dragon, Crypto.com, and many other venture capitalists. So if that's a video that you're interested in, please let me know down in the comment section. Go ahead and add anything else that you think will bring value to the community or any crypto suggestions. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one. And remember that God is good. Peace.